Well, the votes are in, and it would seem that you want Weebro Reviews a lot more than you want beverage. I can't say I blame ya, you know? You can't really feel any of the initial flavors that they're putting out, but you can sort of feel... Unfortunately, I got some sad news. Magnus won't be joining us for this review. I'm afraid he's homesick.
Hello, Mama.
You might also notice we're outside. And that's because today we're going back to a simpler time. We're going back to the first anime ever created, Korea.
When discussing anime, it's almost impossible to ignore the one that started it all, Korea, which was created in the country going by the same name. There is a discussion going around as to what came first, the country or the anime, but as a professional in the field, I think all evidence is pointing to the cartoon being first, with the country design after it coming along later. This is not only highlighted by one of the country's oldest known leaders, King Sejong the Great, who famously stated, "Come on, how can you even think Naruto should date Hinata? Sakura is practically made for him." One of his more controversial statements to this day. When discussing the Korean anime, it's important to understand that from the beginning, the story was written down on something called manga, due to how difficult it was to animate back in the days. But because this is a purely anime related review, and because I don't know how to read, we're gonna skip a large majority of the Korean backstory. However, if you're interested and have the visually guided ability of understanding these scribbles you call letters, then I'd recommend the Admiral Yi storyline. So the first part of the Korean manga to be made into an anime is the story arc named The Japanese Invasion, which was partially created with the help of the Japanese, who were such large fans of Korea and their manga that they decided to come down and help Korea by fixing their leadership. This is widely believed to have been the best time to be a Korean, since the Japanese were so helpful and friendly. But back to the anime. This story arc is pretty average when compared to today's standards, but back when it first came out, it was so revolutionary that it made the United States of America go into the Second World War. Well, that and a couple of sunken battleships. Shortly after the Italian Empire surrendered and left its weakling of an ally, Germany, to fend for themselves, the war was over. Well, technically it ended like 2 months later when the US showed Japan their awesome new firework that impressed them so much they gave up. Sorry, got a bit off topic there. Now, back to Korea. So the second big story arc to come out of this anime was the Civil War arc, which might be the biggest storyline in the entire Korean anime. It was so impactful that it split the country into two different factions. The northern side, who claimed ninjas were badass, and the south side, who said ninjas were gay. The war, and more importantly the argument that ensued, was so impactful that it made some of the great powers of the world join in to make sure the opposing side wouldn't get the last word, in which the Soviet Union and China would come to the aid of North Korea, while the US stood on the side of South Korea. A move they would later regret due to their later fascination with ninjas. Nevertheless, the war resulted in a tie in which the country was split into two. This not only resulted in two different storylines that were vastly different from one another, but it also resulted in two different countries that were vastly different from one another. North Korea, they took the war very personally. So to really get their point across just how awesome ninjas were, they designed their entire political structure after the show Naruto. If you're not familiar with the political structure of Naruto, what it pretty much boils down to is a meritocracy in which the strongest ninja in the country is the leader. You might not think this is a very fair system, but just go ahead and ask someone from North Korea. Hey Andy, you like the political structure of North Korea, right?
앞으로 서로에게 존댓말만 사용한다.
For 3 generations now, North Korea has been led by the Kim family, starting off with Kim Il-sung, then Kim Jong-il, and finally Kim Jong-un. You might be wondering as to how this family has managed to stay in power for so long without being overthrown, which is explained through the anime by a very powerful ability the family has, called eternal obesity, which allows them to get fat despite the fact there is no food in that godforsaken country. What? Excuse me? Can you turn that shit off? Thank you. South Korea, however, started going more in the way of a slice of life in comparison to their northern counterparts. But don't let the categorization fool you into thinking South Korea's storyline will be boring. Because oh boy, it'd be wrong to think that.
내가 도와주겠다. 마음대로 하십시오. 근데 왜?
Not to mention, South Korean women are freaking hot. The way their 20-year-olds look like they're 12 just turns me on.
Wait, what was that sound? Oh my... That son of a bitch! He really did it! He really...
Get ahead, you might be better off as dead, and nobody in the whole world would ever miss you. Everybody's talking smack, insulting you behind your back about how you're such a pathetic excuse for life. So grab a knife and take a stab, you handicapped vagina scab. You honestly make me sick, and I want to kick you. How'd you even learn to walk, you wrinkly little poodle cock? If I were your mother, I'd drown your ass in boiling water. You're a sack of putrid shit. Dig a hole, jump in it. You really don't deserve to be left alive. So hold your breath until you're blue. Fuck your mom and sister too. Your family and friends will all die because of what you've done today.
Oh yeah, Mr. Krabs.